Coach, don't don't light that. Don't. Didn't your mom tell you not to play with fire? You'll piss the bed.
What the fuck was that?
What are you lighting? Essence, incense.
Yeah, you can't let them evil spirits in your home, man.
Is
You
that
got
really what it's for?
no, it's just really to cover up the weed smell, but it is what it is,
The
bro.
smell of that weed. By the way, I got at the store because I'm always out here doing my product placement. There's this Nestle flavored water, and it's flavored lemon, and it was on sale because no one wanted it, and I got some. I can tell you why no one wanted it.
It's trash.
This is not very good.
So you got it for what, like a quarter a bottle or some shit?
Not by the bottle, it was by the pack. You got each pack for like $2. It was like six of them, so it was like six for like $2 or something.
Yeah, there people are always expanding their product. I don't know what that's for. I don't get it because Coke. What Coke just do? Coke made like an orange and
Or
vanilla something
orange
bullshit.
flavor, yeah, and it's very funny you say that because I remember I was at work the one day and we were trying out said flavor, and my coworker's like, I can't do it, man. I can't finish this, but like it was so gross. And then I finished the rest of it, and I was not impressed. It wasn't like gross, but it wasn't like no, it wasn't my first pick of flavors of things to drink. That's for sure.
Yeah, fuck that shit. Just stick with what works, man. You got a product that works, man. Or just put the cocaine back in Coke, man. I guess that's what they were saying they were doing back in the day, putting cocaine in Coke. And
No, I
Coke,
think that's what it came from. I think that's where cocaine got its or cocaine. That's where Coke got its start was with cocaine. Like they put
that's
cocaine in it.
fucking crazy. Imagine everybody was jacked up
But
on
one
Coke.
Coke. Yeah, but everybody back then was like jacked up on Coke. Coach, like you know how it is, right?
They're jacked up on something. Oh, that
Yeah.
reminds. Hey, I don't know why that just reminded me of that, but what's going on in the fucking secular world? I finally fucking went and watched one of them people. What was his name? I was like, let me see. I didn't have nothing to do. I was like, let me see what this whole secular, because I didn't know what that meant until you explained it to me one day. So I
Secular?
checked it. Just means like basically it means that you don't you're not attaching anything to a religion. Like you're
Yeah,
not.
right. It's secularism is just basically it's rational thinking. You don't jump to conclusions and you take things rationally. Like like the idea of a god is something that would be considered non-secular because you're making a baseless assertion. It's something that doesn't. It's not. It doesn't logically follow something. It usually sticks to laws of logic and things of that nature. And how we think. But in the
I think
secular world, I do have some news in the secular world. One of my favorite shows, a non sequitur show, which was actually an inspiration in the layout for this show and actually gave me the idea to do what me and Coach do now, is dead. It's dead now, pretty much.
What do
Um,
you mean?
the co-hosts, the two co-hosts, they agreed to do they agreed 50-50 on all the revenue and everything else that came from the show, and a
Mhm.
split came where one of the guys named Kyle, he took the channel in a whole different direction and cut the other guy out basically, kind of held him off to the side and was like, we're not doing these anymore. And all we had was like conversations about being gay and homosexuality and basically LGBTQ, rather than having like rational arguments and stuff like that on. So they only had like one flat earth thing a week, and then it was like all like gay blah blah blah, and then atheism. Like it was only focused on those things, which the show previously, before this guy took over the show, one of the hosts like did a hostile takeover. The show wasn't just about that stuff. It was about various varying topics in the secular world, whether we're talking about creationism, physics, all kinds of debates. They had people come on to talk about the Sphinx and how they were and like if the Sphinx outdated the pyramids, and all these interesting conversations they would have. But instead they went this whole other direction and they cut Steve out, which was one of my favorite co-hosts. And um, he basically the channel ended because Steve left, and he told everybody what Kyle did, which is basically cut him out of all the money that he was supposed to get and everything, because they
So
didn't have
there's
a
a
there wasn't a formal agreement. There was no in paper agreement because they trusted all this on a handshake. And
and you
yeah, they
can't
got
do
killed.
that anymore. You're speaking of when you get to a certain point where money's involved, it's just better. It's just better to get it down on paper so you don't have to worry about it. You can just produce and you can work and grind out your thing without worrying about it and having it come up at a later date. I like when you have do things like that, you just put it in a contract. Like I have a contract. Well, the contract that I have in one of my small businesses
Mm-hmm.
is that it doesn't. If I can't claim anything else outside of this because of I don't put the effort into that. So if he grows it into a certain percent, my percent is not going to grow past that because I don't do anything in it, and that's a
Right.
clause in it. So you have to do the paperwork. It's so you don't fucking fall out because it's just like a marriage, man. If I would never get married, but I suggest everybody sign a prenup. So there's no issue about anything. So are you speaking of Kalinske, Kyle Kalinske? Is that how you say his name?
No, no, not Kyle Kalinske. No.
Oh, okay.
His name is Kyle Curtis, and the other guy name is Steve McRae, and they're part of my
Okay.
favorite show, Non Sequitur. They made the show together, and like I said, they agreed to everything 50-50. And it's sad, Steve, since he was one of the creators of the show, he's losing all the money that he was going to give to his daughter someday, because Steve is an older guy, right? Like, they're kind of like us in a way, but not in the same way. Like Steve is like this guy who's like 50. He used to go to nuclear school, like to go study how to make nukes and stuff, and he
Mhm.
didn't graduate. So, but he knows all this stuff. I mean, he's studied it. You know, I mean, he has a very good idea and grasp of like nuclear physics and all this stuff. And then you have Kyle, who he's just really good at designing graphics and doing stuff like that. And they just, like I said, I don't know. They just had this falling out, and it breaks my heart because it was one of my favorite shows. Like, you know, having people on to talk about cool things, and you know, now it's gone, so it sucks. But other than that, you know, where one thing falls, others rise. Steve is
Well,
making his own channel and stuff, so that's cool.
that's the great thing about what this format is. You can just take your followers with you, like you would go follow him, right?
Yeah, right.
So you could just take your followers with you, and that's who I checked out. So where does he rate on the radar? The Kalinske guy. I mean, I could see a lot of like I see
Who are we
I
talking about? Kalinske?
yeah.
Who's that?
Is that his name? I don't know. He's a secular guy. He popped up on my YouTube. They're
No.
listening to us, bro. There's no reason that something secular would have popped up on my YouTube, on my TV.
That's right, exactly. They were coming.
There's no reason. And this popped up, and I was like, oh, that's what Debbie talking about. Let me check this out. And his name's like Kyle Kalinske or
Go
something.
ahead and
Maybe
talk. Tell me what he does and everything, and maybe I'll know something about him because I can't think of his name off the top of my head.
he's like, I don't know. He looks kind of like, I don't know if he has some kind of ethnicity to him. I don't know if he's like he has some kind of Mexican background or mixed with that, or it's Arab. I don't know. He just has brown skin. He just looks like he has a whole bunch of culture, some kind of culture that's outside of just being white, I guess.
Right,
But
he's not white. That's what you should have said. He's not white.
he's not white.
You were like trying to
So
be so specific. It's like just say he's not white.
he's not white. So it's just
Okay.
like, but he talks like I related him to him because you have like, how I talk. I have broken slang English. I just say all kinds of crazy shit. But he's more like your type of vibe. And he talks about, but everything I mostly see is like, when I went through it, it was just cut up clips. And it was mostly just talking about the election and those type of things. He really likes Bernie Sanders. He really, is on Bernie Sanders' side, and he just brings up certain stuff like that. I never really watched the whole thing. But it's mostly, maybe that's why it popped up in my thing, because I was looking at sometimes I just see what's going on in that world of politics and check out what the latest bullshit is, shit like
But
that. So.
I'm not familiar with Kyle Kalinske at all. Especially from the secular world. Maybe I'll look into him after this, and maybe I may have I've seen him around or something. But like from what I usually watch and see, I don't know anything about Kyle Kalinske. Now, before I continue on with the show, I did want to give a shout out to Candy and Lydia. I want to thank you guys because I stopped by your house and put it in your fridge the other day, and I showed you guys the show, and I told you guys I'd give you a shout out. So here it is. Appreciate y'all. Y'all are nice. You are really cool people. I like y'all a lot. And she invited me over. I am taking you up on that offer. You are giving me eggs and bacon. I will be over at the house sometime. You are going to give me eggs and bacon.
Wait a minute. Did you just randomly go to somebody's? Are you showing up at people's houses?
No.
Oh!
I was
like,
at work.
Is this a new segment?
Like,
oh,
yeah,
like
I just pull up at people's houses and like, oh yeah, hey, here's your fridge.
Check out the show.
Like I just brought you a fridge. Yeah, right. It's the new segment. Devin goes door to door, and then I knock on people's doors. Like, hey, I do this show called Bridging the Gap, and these people are like, what are you doing? I was just having sex with my wife, and then I have to be like, well, let me just tell you about our show real quick, and then you can go back to
Then you
that.
could go back to that. Yeah, how dare us? Hey, that might be the new fucking marketing genius,
Yes,
man.
right, exactly.
What did fucking little Dicky do? He didn't pay for shit, right? Didn't he
Yeah,
just go to people's houses and ask them to
yeah,
shoot videos and shit?
yeah, right. He just like pulled up on people and stuff. It was like he did that,
Let's.
and then he gained an internet following. But also, he was don't let that fool you though, because I believe he worked before that. He worked in like marketing and stuff. He used to work for like ESPN and stuff like that, like big
So he knew a lot
networks,
of people.
TV networks. Yeah, he had a lot of connections and relationships with people.
And that's basically how things work. Everything that I've started, like programs, youth programs, I went to people that I knew in our circle and asked them for donated space. And they usually do it because they can write it off. If they have the space, they can write it off and say that they're doing something and say, here, you can have this space. Go ahead and get your startup going. People like Gary Vee said it. I didn't have no money. He said, when I started my thing, all my money went into the business I started. I said I needed to get some space. I knew somebody. They said I could use their boardroom until I could make some moves. So that's pretty much how everything starts, though. You know what I mean? It's not a new philosophy. I just think that was, yeah, he might have just attached it to his story to say, hey, I did this like this. You know what I'm saying? To give people maybe motivation and try to separate himself from everybody else.
Yeah, well, I see what you're saying in terms of the separation process for Gary Vee. I think me and you have that's one of our very many things we have on the board is we got to get a space, so we can like start like bringing people in. We're gonna start people flying people out, to come on the show.
Yeah, and you got to sleep in the studio.
Right, because you already paid for that space, so that's you live there too.
Yeah, we ain't paying for no hotels. We ain't got it like that.
Hey, so Snapchat filters are those cheat codes? Do you think Snapchat filters are cheat codes?
Bro, I
Filters.
just like it helps. I mean, I'm looking at those things. I see people in public, like it says, like there's that meme that says, "Hey, if I see you out in public and you don't, that filtered, you don't look like how you look in that filter, you're gonna have to buy me drinks until you do." So
That's funny.
right. So yeah, I see people. I was like, oh, she's kind of cute. You know what I mean? Not just, I don't obviously don't look at dudes, but we know dudes use them too because they automatically filter it through Facebook. I'm not doing anything to my pictures, but I know that's not. That's not. I
How I
wish
look.
I looked that well.
Yeah, right. Well,
It's
they
like,
say lighting could do wonders for you. But I was gonna say something. Is I use Snapchat filters sometimes, but you know what? I feel so guilty using them. Like as soon as I use them, I swipe. I'm like, that's not even me though. So like, I will like swipe back and put my regular face, like, and I will just send the shitty picture that I took of myself.
right.
I'll be like, I look great. And I'm like, no, like that's not really me. Like, and if I lie, this girl's just gonna be disappointed when we go out on a date. So I have to swipe back to the regular me. I'm like, just throw your ugly self out there and see what she says.
Oh, well, speaking of that, man, it's a unanimous fucking decision that you look like the Shermanator, bro.
The Shermanator, clearly, it's been called down. It's been called down. I look like the Shermanator. Although I gotta say, I have more facial hair than the Shermanator, but you know what I mean. The hair was on point. That was a good roast, and I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you next time
It's
because
war, bro. It's
it,
war. It's war. I couldn't find the one. I wanted to use the one where you said the look, but I didn't want. I was like, I actually posted the one about where you with the meme that said when your mom says your pubes are on your chin. But I
yeah.
didn't want to post that. I was like, I
Oh,
posted
my
it
Facebook profile
and then I
picture.
took it down. Yeah, then I took it down and I went with the other one. I was like, oh man, I thought about it for a minute. It was like, let me take this one down. Shit like that.
Well, yeah, no, you can't use that one because someone did the roast for you already.
Yeah, so I
Yeah,
was
so I was
like,
like, you gotta
let
get
me find
creative
another
with
one.
it. I
Yeah,
got a few on deck. I saw that Sherman one. I was like, all right, motherfucker. I said so. I got some in the book. I'm not throwing them out right away. I gotta give this time to sizzle down. That way you don't expect it. Then bam, I'm blindsiding you. I got
soon
so
as and
many.
some people, I guarantee you, there's some people on there. Shout out to all the people that understood it. But I know there's people on there like they're always attacking each other. And be like, no, we're having fun, yo.
They're probably
We're having fun,
they
yo.
probably think we come on the show and we just just get on the show and start yelling at each other. They probably never watch the show. They're just
Right.
on our page and they just see us roasting each other. They're like, wow, they must really not like each other.
And that's part of the thing. Yeah, I seen the thing, and I was sitting there, and I was like, I got to get you back for that fucking football thing for dude tackling his truck, So I was like, a week went by. I was like, it's my turn, and then I seen everybody comparing people to that new thing that's going. They're comparing to like famous people, like side by side, and I was like,
You saw your window. You saw your chance. Huh? You saw your opportunity.
Yeah, I gotta get him. So I went. This is what I did, bro. This is how in depth it went. I fucking Googled famous ginger people.
You were really doing research and shit to try and roast me. You were really doing research. Okay.
I did the Google search, and then they started popping up, and I was like, the Shermanator. He popped up. I was like, I gotta do this. I got to. So it's unanimous. Yeah, you definitely look like that's who you are for a little while until you get me back.
Deal. Fine by me.
Right.
Hey, that reminds me of goofy looking people. Today we're talking about Mitch McConnell. You said you wanted to bring him up, but this dude, I'm just telling you right now, this guy looks like Franklin the Turtle. He looks like Franklin the Turtle. Like if I put a picture of Mitch McConnell and him, they look like the same. It's weird. It's scary almost.
Yeah, they're that dude. I mean, he's just out of touch with reality, man. And I think that's just the. I do like one thing I said, like when Trump was elected, I like that we can throw out the soft gloves, the white gloves. Like you got to make sure everything's clean. I like that. I think they push it a little too far sometimes, but I would like my politician to be just straight up forward instead of blowing smoke up the ass. You know what I mean? As much as that I believe in it, because you know how I feel about that stuff. But as much as I want to see, to get, just to try to get people to get along. I wish it was a little more straightforward. But this dude is just whacked out of his fucking mind, the shit that he says, bro. He just says some crazy shit. Like last week, they had those reparations hearing, which we had an episode of that. I shared it that day. So if you guys want to check that out, check it out. We had it with Melvin and shit. We talked about that, why it wasn't being discussed. But that's going to be a big part of this election. Like they're being asked these questions, like when they go, because they need the black vote. So people are saying like that's what are being pushed by the top, like the Breakfast Club. Everybody comes on the Breakfast Club, all candidates, even, conservative, or they're coming on the Breakfast Club. And that's the question they're asked. So it's going to be a big thing. So they decided to hold those hearings. And after it, he said something which everybody says, like, it happened so long ago. Nobody alive is a slave. Nobody alive participated in that. And nobody's saying that, though. But they're saying, it's just a race. Like if you're trying to win the Indianapolis 500 and you're down already 250 laps. And they say, all right, go. You know what I mean? It's not going to be a fair race. You got to try to find a way to even up the race. And I don't, me, we talked about this. I don't believe in that shit. As far as just like giving out money, like that's that's going to solve anything. It has to be something that I would, that I could agree on, more purposes of saying, yeah, we fucked up. We were wrong. We should not, we need to do something.
Well, first for you, I think it's first and foremost is the admission that, you know what I mean, you fucked up. Yeah. And then the second part would be what comes next with that, which, like I said, you need something that built. I think when me and you and Melvin talked about it, it was they need something to build generational wealth. Like it's so that way you have a leg up to compete economically in your neighborhoods and so forth, and rebuild those neighborhoods that have been redlined and cut off and ruined basically, and then targeted for drug use. Yeah,
gentrify, just like we talked about. They're going in your neighborhood now, gentrifying the
They're taking. That's right. They're just taking out of trailer parks. Nothing you could do, trapping you.
Nothing you can do.
And what was I gonna say? That pertained to that particular conversation. It just slipped my mind. But yeah, gentrifying and those kind of reparations need to be paid up. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's something as easy like we see this because especially this is a point that I think that I made before, that this would help a lot of people understand what really the frustration is, which I think a lot of a working American understands this frustration too, because a lot of, and this is nothing against nobody, I just don't understand what the process of it is. It's like people from like a country that we go to war with, like in Middle Eastern countries. I think they did it with other things. I'm not sure, but I noticed it in my era when it was with war with Iraq and Middle Eastern country, Kuwait. They bring, like, I don't know if they're political prisoners. I don't know if they helped in the war some way over there. Maybe were guides helping them guide through there. But they bring people over here. They give them front line in businesses, and then they don't have to pay taxes for 7 years. Now, these people are in our community. Not, I don't have nothing. You know me. I don't give a fuck who you are. Just if you're in that community, just participate as you should and act accordingly, and you're cool with me. But I had that discussion before. Like, they're in the community, they don't have to pay taxes, and we see this, and we look and say, "Yo, you guys, these people aren't even from here. They didn't bust your ass to get here, and they're getting that head start." It's not a hate thing, because in the hoods, man, you're pretty much welcome. You'll get some beef if you do things like, I think I shared the story where I went in there and I was looking for sponsorship. Now, we come to your store and we buy things from your store, and we support your business. I asked them, "Hey, this is a normal thing I do. I go through the neighborhood, and people just give whatever they can to help support the youth program and the thing. It's just a normal thing. Nobody has any issue with it at all." You know what I'm saying? So, and they were just like, "Oh, we don't do that." So I'm like, wait a minute. And then I started looking into the scenario, like, you don't even pay taxes. And you don't pay taxes on this. You got bumped up to the front of the line to get the business loans, and you're not even paying taxes. Now, let me say this again. It's nothing against Arabic people. It's not that. I'm using it as an example of what the government does that can admit to these type of things. Maybe they did a war over there, or these people helped. But what about the people that were brought here for that? Something has to be done. I'm not sure what the solution is. I don't know. It's not my job to figure all that stuff out. I have some suggestions, but I think something has to be done. And he just basically, one more thing. The thing that pissed me off, really, the other stuff I heard before, but this coming out of his mouth was, I was like, I want to slap the shit out of this turtle with no shell. Is he was like, "Well, we gave you Obama. We let you have," he said, "We'll let you have Obama."
We'll
I'm
let you
like,
have
what
Obama.
the fuck does that mean, bro? How
So,
can you say
so
that shit?
that was that conservatives basically saying like, yeah, we voted for Obama so you guys could just have a black president?
So shut the fuck up and
Yeah,
just.
right. That was their bravo. You had a great scheme. I
Great,
don't I don't know what.
great job.
Yeah,
Great
like, yeah, I
job.
mean, you guys wouldn't even vote for Mitt Romney, you poor sons of bitches. Mitt Romney, because
Right.
even you guys drew the line at having like several wives and shit. I don't know. But
Yeah.
what was I gonna say about? Oh, I was saying about Indians. That's what I wanted to say. Is like Indian people,
Right.
or Native Americans. They were here before any of us, and they got their due with they got their land, and they got like money, which then they would use for casinos or whatever. But I mean, it didn't
They
help
got us
anything.
something.
They got something, but honestly, to me, it just makes me feel kind of bad, even worse for them, because they got all that stuff, but it's like too little, too late. It's almost like a consolation prize because, like, yeah, great job, you wiped out our people. Our people don't even, there are less of us than there are like any ethnicity in this country. You know what I mean? And we were here first, and you
Yeah.
wiped us out. Like, you wiped us out essentially.
And you
Yeah.
don't really see the culture. I mean, that's a deep culture. Indians have a great story and a great culture, and it's not put on pride. That's what pretty much their reparation was. Here's some land, stay on that land, and the land is basically same thing as redlining, is pretty much ghettos. They're
Yeah. Right.
ghettos because they have people in power, which we talked about. We made great points. You made the point too in that conversation we had, Melvin. Giving them the money ain't going to be the solution because it's just going to go to dumb shit that ain't going to help build the generational wealth. So the leaders of those communities took those money and then got the deals with the casinos and stuff like that.
And took
And did,
advantage of it. And took advantage of
yes,
the money that was given back. And that's what I was saying was, Well, for one, you can't bankrupt a casino unless you're Donald Trump. But it's a good investment for them to build businesses or whatever. But it still like kind of betrays that way of life that Native Americans had, and they gave them back land. I wouldn't call it ghettos. They just gave them back these big portions of land that it belonged to their people. Not all of it, of course, but portions of it. And they said, "Here's your land back." Oh yeah, what I mean. It's just basically this wooded area. They get that back to live there. But then what I mean. It's like basically it's almost like the idea of like ethnostating a little bit, where like you grab an ethnic group of people and you make them not make them live, but they live in this little area. Like this is the area that we gave you back that you get to live in here. You know what I mean? Like here's your land. And I'm not saying that it is ethnostate. Let me make that very clear, because Indians are very much allowed to leave their place and go live with other people in America. But I was just saying it's kind of funny they picked off that corner almost and said, here it is. Here's your spot.
Shut up. That's what basically what they're saying. And there's many of, but what I said that I call them ghettos because I did a lot of research on the Indians and how they're living. Uh, the Indians on reservation is not. It's not. There's a lot of there's schooling issues. There's medical issues. There is now. I don't know how much of that is responsibility of the United States in paying taxes, or is it on however the structure of that? I didn't get that deep.
Or
How the structure of the reservation, is it the responsibility of them? But there's a lot of alcoholism and drug. It's
drug
bad
use. Yeah,
on a
right.
lot of reservations. They're not. It's not some great place where you're going and you're seeing the culture. I'm sure there's a lot of places that are,
Yeah, right.
but
But not all of them. Yeah.
but
To
there's a
enough.
lot of there's a lot of thing. And the interesting thing about it is I seen something yesterday where it showed all the reparations that America has paid out. And to me, it's sort of like that's why I don't want it. To me, it's not about money. And I'm saying a lot of the strong leaders that are not scared to go out there and bust their ass for their dollar. They believe in that part of the capitalist way of doing things is busting your ass and get what you need. I think it's more of like the acknowledgement of saying like some of the things when they take down Confederate statues and do like that's a start, but making it known like this is why we're doing this. Like this, we can't celebrate this bullshit. Like tell the history, not his story. You know what I mean? Tell it
Right.
like it really is. Make that a big part because it is a big part of people. You know what I mean? It's a big part for people. What's saying, which we do is bridging the gap for people that have no clue, that are just repeating what they're hearing a Mitch McConnell say or their grandfather. That
Yeah, right.
that's
Oh, it's
that's
just the way it is. It's just the way it is, right? You know what I mean? But we all know history is written by the victor. So whoever came out on top of that one, they're gonna tell it their way.
right. Yeah. So
Like
screw that dude. When we see him, we're gonna have to rough him up.
we got
We
the
might
rough.
get a charge. We might get a
Listen,
charge.
man, he's looking pretty rough already. Like I said, I don't know if we'll have to rough him up. I mean, I don't think you can get much more rough looking than that guy for sure. There's just no way. I mean, I kind of want to break his glasses. Like I kind of want to like grab him because they look at those glasses. You can just grab the middle and pinch them, like
Just fall
and then they
apart.
just fall apart. Like Goro did in like Mortal Kombat, where he like grabbed Johnny Cage's sunglasses off his face and he was like just crushed him. And then Johnny Cage was like, "Those were $3,000 sunglasses, asshole." I don't know how much they were, but he said they were like expensive or something. Now we go on some news about Iriggity-ran, huh? So Iran is the things are intensifying over there in Iran.
Yeah, I think it's inevitable. I mean, it's the history thing. If you do outside of Main Street media and you actually do some research on it, Iran's doing what every other country that we went in the Middle East and started a conflict with and just basically found a way to start the conflict. It has to do, in my eyes, I'm not saying, but what just doing the thing. Everything they have one common denominator. It's that they took the US dollar out and they nationalized their resources to give back to their people. Gaddafi did it.
Right.
Um,
Well, attempted to. They were trying to create the gold dinar, which is essentially a currency that's gold based, which is by a natural resource. So they were saying, no, you have to give us something that's not like what I mean. You can't just print the money and say that that's worth something. He's like, we're not going to agree to that. He's like, we have a gold dinar, this coin almost. It is made of gold. It's like we will use this. It's an actual substance that can be have value because there's a scarcity to it. I mean, because you could print so much money and you could control the flow of money, but he's like, no. He's like, we're not doing that anymore. He's like, here's a gold dinar. He's like, and that's what it is. Because money, like, the thing is money, like dollars and anything that uses currency is only given value because the people who use it give it value. So, the gold dinar was a good way of taking that away because that's why we have the gold reserve down in Fort Knox, right? Like, it's supposed to be our backup of actual currency. Because
Yeah, okay.
there's a lot of theories that it's actually not even there. There is no Fort Knox reserve. It's gone. But yeah, but they tried to do that to give back to their people, and then of course they off Gaddafi. All of a sudden, hey, there's the Iraq War came. Like, all right, we got to come in here and take these people out. Well, not the Iraq War, Afghanistan. I believe Gaddafi was out of Afghanistan. Maybe I'm mistaken.
Well, Libya. He's from Libya. He's from Africa. They just wanted to separate and use their money, and there was back and forth. I'm not sure how in depth that they are to America, but it's the currency, like you said, it's the paper. Like, and the thing that I think about this all the time is like we are the strongest force in the world, like, right?
Mm-hmm.
Basically.
Yeah, for the most part.
I don't see why money is an issue to us, man. Like,
mm-hmm.
like to me, it's the natural resources that they put behind the money, like that oil. We're the number one producers of oil, but they for some reason they want control of everything. Like they don't want other countries to build themselves up to be powerful themselves, where they have to rely on us all the time for certain things. And then when they try to do it themselves,
Mm-hmm.
we're saying no. You know what I mean?
Right. We intervene, and break it up, so to speak. Actually, hey coach, if I could, I'm gonna play a segment from. We actually talked about the Iran deal, which is one of the many events that has led up to what's going on now. I'm actually gonna play a clip of that video from last year and see. I explained some of the things that led to the Iran deal and a little bit of the past of the Iran deal that Obama came up with and proposed. So I'm going to play that for a second, and then we'll kind of break it down. So let's take a look at that. Iran deal. For those of you who don't know what the Iran deal is, I'll go ahead here and go a little bit in depth. This is kind of more so what it was intended from the creation of when President Obama came out.
Build fucking nuclear weapons.
Right. In 2015, Barack You were like, it's basically to build fucking nuclear weapons. Obama comes forward and says, after 2 years of negotiations, direct quote, the United States... Oh, they can hear us talk, yeah. I'm pausing the video to come in between here. States and its international partners have reached an agreement that, to this point, animosity has not. Which he was referring to how, in recent years, we went in there, staged a coup back in the 1950s, and we got rid of their democratically elected leader, and then, placed in the Shah, who was friendly to American interests and oil, etc. But they come to a comprehensive long-term deal with Iran, which will prevent them from obtaining nuclear weapons. Barack went to say the deal is not based on trust, rather verification. Inspectors will have a 24/7 access to Iran's key nuclear facilities, supply chain, and mines, so they can throw uranium. So they can't throw uranium from one facility to a covert one.
They already got that. Sorry to say.
Some of these measures will be in place for 25 years. The IEEA, the International Atomics Inspection Agency, so it's like the IAEA, can go wherever within Iranian borders. That agreement is permanent. So for the terms of the deal, because the deal is only subject to 2030, right? But there's like stipulations that phase out, but that arrangement of it is permanent. Iran's compliance with terms will receive relief from sanctions imposed on them by the U.S. and the UN because of their nuclear program. Okay, so essentially what it is, right? Let me go back to our other screen here. Oh god, not that one. Okay, I'm sorry about that. Basically what it is, essentially, Coach, is, they placed sanctions on Iran because they were trying to do all these horrible, basically build nuclear weapons, and we didn't want that in the hands of theocratic governments. So other countries in the UN decided collectively to place sanctions on Iran, which kind of F them because they were basically effing the people. right? So they were, cutting up trade and making things more expensive to get into the country, which was hurting the people in the country, which by hurting the people that live in the country would in turn make them mad and angry at the government for screwing them, and they would say, hey, maybe don't make nuclear weapons. So Iran and them eventually agreed to a deal where the deal would have stipulations that they would have to decrease the amount of uranium and how much they could enrich it by. And that deal went through to 2030. And that gave us some time to work out a long-term deal with Iran and keep them from either making nuclear weapons or, figuring out some way to make some kind of defenses. So I'm not sure what it was, but it bought us time, essentially. And then back in when Donald Trump became president, the year that we made that video, which was what, like last year, like 2018, Donald Trump pulled us out of the Iran deal. So when we got pulled out of the Iran deal, it kind of hurt us because now Iran started its nuclear program right back up. Now, I will say, because that was something that we did talk about when we started that, was Iran had apparently, this is what we got no information of, but to me, I thought it was a so I can't say that word, but you know what I'm talking about. But they got all the, for some reason they found all this secret stuff, and they were secret uranium enriching plants that Iran had, and that's why Trump and his board thought they had reason to revoke the Iran deal because they weren't following it anyway.
Yeah, and it's, to me, it goes back way before all this, bro.
Yeah, in the
It goes,
50s,
yeah,
that was something I mentioned was we overthrew their democratically elected leader, and then threw in the Shah. The Shah, who was, friendly to American interests by making oil very cheap for us.
yeah. And then the Ayatollah came in and changed it back up, and then they started. We had many conflicts, or many things like little conflicts with Iran throughout the years. I think Reagan shot. They shot down during Reagan's era. They shot something down, whether it was, I think it was a plane or something like that, due to some kind of. And that's where I kind of learned. Like, I was growing up in that era. I was young. That's where I was learning. Like, you had movies like how we have movies now where we're seeing like Al Qaeda and all that. That's how the younger generation is learning what that is, outside of, because they don't watch the news, they see movies. Back then, that's what I saw. It was Iran that was, oh, they're terrorists, they'll blow up your plane and all that type stuff. Rambo had one on Iran. Just stuff like that. And I think that conflict just carries on. Whatever the reasoning is, though, it's something to me, like, it's just like Iran, like we can't sit down at the table and have a basic grown conversation to come up with how do we fix this conflict, because Iran is very important over in the Middle East to to Russia, China, a lot of people, Saudi Arabia.
It's a very important country, especially where it is in the Middle East. It's about the location too. It's like real estate, location, location, location. And also you understand too, the backing of their government is a theocratic government, so they have religious beliefs, and that they're, for them, I think a lot of the problems are there is no reason. They have their God on their side, and they are right, and you are not, because you stand before their particular God. And I'm not saying that to be, my atheist side. I'm saying that because they are a theocratic government, which means that their government is backed by a religious belief, and that is like the core of their governing. And I think that plays a part in the way they act. Now, my thing is though, is that you have countries like Saudi Arabia that do horrible, horrendous acts, but because they sell us oil at the rates that we prefer them, and and all that,
They get a pass.
They get a pass, and like they cut off the the labias of women over there, and all of these other things, and those kind of countries are just as criminal to me if we're talking about UN, like United Nations, not coming up to the codes of human rights violations, right? To me, I don't know. Saudi Arabia is looking pretty much like Iran, but it's funny how we talk about which these incidents. There's been incidents leading up to this between gas attacks in Iran and shooting down drones. American drones have been going over Iran, and they've just been shooting them down. There's just things that have been leading up to a conflict that we think
Yeah.
may be inevitable.
Right. And I think one thing that I did agree with, like I don't know if he's just trigger shy with President Trump, was that he didn't act when the other day. They were supposed to go have an attack on Iran the other day. And at the 11th hour he pulled out. So
Right.
yeah, this happened. I do agree with that. Like, let's not start anything. Let's try to figure it out before. And everybody's like, drop the ball, dude. We got to show them who's boss. But this is my thing, that it makes total sense to me. Okay, if we want them to stop making that stuff, we made this deal. I'm not sure, like, if they broke that deal before or after Trump pulled out of it. I don't know. But if they keep making those bombs to the point where it's like, oh, they're out of control, I could understand going over there and taking their shit. Like, we're not going to allow you, because of your beliefs, that you might do something that could affect the world's peace. I
Right.
get that. I understand that totally. I believe that's a reason why we need to step into a conflict. But in saying that, though, I'm just like, what is the if that is it, then that's what it should be. I don't think that's it. I think we're not worried about Iran coming to America. So it's not about us protecting America or protecting people. I don't think we give two rat dicks about their people and their beliefs and what they do over there. It's only about our interest of what we're getting out of there, or keeping the power structure that we have against Russia and between Russia, China, and that big thing, the game that they're playing. I get that. But to me, Iran is not like, nobody's coming to our coast to fight us. Nobody has came to our coast to fight
They
us.
don't have the capabilities. No country. Here's the thing that we're talking about military wise. No country has a navy nor an air force to get to us. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
We have an air force. We rule the skies and we rule the oceans. So any other way you can get to America, it's damn near impossible. Now what we don't have is defenses against nuclear weapons, and that's all it takes. If you got an Iranian country to get a submarine from the Russians, and the Russians then put a nuclear sub somewhere, and then that nuclear sub can go undetected and get within range of a United States country or sorry, city rather, then they could do some serious damage, right? And it'd be like a no hit, and that's what they're trying to do, and that's pretty much been the military tactic that war that we've been fighting, is a guerrilla war where everybody's hiding in the shadows. It's a Cold War type deal where everybody's hiding in the shadows. You don't see them, and that's what they're scared of. I believe it's not the actual assault. It's that the sneaky attack that they might make and how much damage of people they could hurt doing that.
I get it. Yeah, I totally agree with that. We have to monitor those things, and we have to make sure that they're doing their possibilities. Do we, like, okay, just saying that though, I know we have some kind of treaty with Russia, and I believe China also, but we're saying that they don't have the capabilities to do that, or do they have the capability? It's just that they're
Absolutely. But I think some of these other countries are trying to beat us at different games.
right.
Like I don't think that it's the old school. Let's nuke them. Let's fight them. Let's fight. Let's have a war. Like that. I think it's gonna be through secret things, like destroying the infrastructure of our country, our trust with our own government. Those kind of things are what they're probably going to start attacking. Because we hear about cyber attacks now, like those are a thing. Which maybe you and I have not been attacked or been hurt by a cyber attack, but who knows even what that is? Do you know what I mean? Like, who even knows what that is? Like, what? Russia one day, they get some hackers together, hack everyone in America's bank accounts, and then just take all of our money, and everyone in this country's broke, and then the American government has to bail us out.
That would cause chaos. Just think about if that you woke up and it wasn't no war or nothing like that. It would be a chaos between us. Like, it would start a civil war between us. If you woke up and you're going to work normal day, you went to whatever, you get a Gatorade or a donut or something before you head into work, and your money's not there. And then somebody next to you is at the counter, their money's not there. Everything's saying declined at that time. How much chaos would it be if that happened?
It would be insanity because we wouldn't have wouldn't be insanity. It would be chaos. You're right, chaos, absolute chaos. But that's Sun Tzu's Art of War at its finest, right there. Chaos, someone else's chaos is your opportunity. So I mean, if you create opportunities for yourself that influence another country, you would do it by attacking its people, just like how Iran and how the UN sanctioned Iran and pushed them into the Iran deal because they affected the people of the country. And I'm saying that's the kind of thing that Russia and them could do. I think that's what I'm saying is that you got these hidden things, just like with this past election, Russia, I mean, definitely intervened for sure, and not just that, but Trump, and this is just funny to me because they were saying there's no collusion, but then Donald Trump says like clearly they said so if someone said to you like if a foreign country says they have information on your opponent, what would you say? And he's like, and Donald Trump this is straight up out of Donald Trump's mouth. I can find the clip for you that I watched off of John Oliver's show, and it is him. It is fucking Donald Trump looking there, and he is saying on the show, well, I wouldn't not listen. If someone came up to me and said I had some information on my opponent, of course I'm going to listen. I'm going to listen to it. And it's like, well, there you go. Like, and that's what you don't want to hear that from your president of the United States, that if another country had information that would lead to the demise of your political opponent, you would just be like, yeah, okay, I'll take it. Yeah, sure. You don't want to hear that because that's basically him saying, yeah, if it means fuck you guys and I get reelected, yeah, fine. You know what I mean? I'm going to do it. I'm going to do whatever this other country asks of me. Because that information isn't free. Russia didn't just walk over and say, "Hey, Donald, we have some information for you, but you got to do something for us." And I think that's probably how that conversation went. But Donald Trump didn't say that. He just said that he would listen.
Yeah, that was that George Stephanopoulos interview. Yeah, I seen that. Yeah, he definitely said that. And but the thing is, this is the thing. People are focusing, saying like that's the narrative that was created by the machine, the Trump machine, that just keeps saying collusion, because there is no charge for collusion. It's not illegal to collude. It's not. You can take any information you want from these people. It's the obstruction of justice, where you doing things with that information without reporting the information properly, or you using it to attack your opponent and stuff like that. They have so many things like in the Mueller report that he could be like, if it was us, Dev, we would be in jail right now. They would come in our home, we would be ostracized. We would be called traitors. Everything that's in that report is enough for us to get buried under the jail. Right. So
I'm just saying my big grievance with it isn't just that he said it, but it's the fact that he would take that information, and that information comes with a tag on the end of it. It is not free. So that means that your president has basically said, yeah, I'm going to work with you, Russia, if you get me my seat in office. And then from there, you basically Russia now has a puppet.
Yeah,
they have a
puppet. It's like if you're like back in the mob days, they used to pay off cops. You know what I mean? Now you own that cop. Exactly. You own that. If that cop takes that money, that cop now you own, because his life is over if it ever comes out.
Right, and that's what they'll say is like the Russians. That's probably what they would do. They would just say, "We'll just have to leak the particular information to the right reporter." That's all they'd have to do. And Trump, you're finished. So that's why now Trump is basically bitch boy, and it's sad. It's sad. But the thing is he's so open about it. He's so open.
Yeah, and nobody's fight. Nobody's like, oh no, that's not. That's what's crazy about the thing. That's the other side of the sword that I was talking about, saying I'm so glad that he came, that it was able. Now people can be, I mean, Obama was loose, but he wasn't loose with his mouth the way he presented himself and when you want your leader to speak or something like that. And I agree. I didn't agree with half of the shit Obama did. I agreed with how he presented himself to American people to be like, that's how a leader should be. But this guy's just flapping off at the mouth, saying whatever, like you said, being open about just shit that he said. That you're basically saying if we acted like that, we are going down, bro. We're gonna burn in fucking flames. And the people that are voting and representing for him are just like, this is, oh no, it's not. You can do this. You can act like this, but let us act like that. Let us go out into the world and say some of the things that is being said, but just the opposite way towards him. You'd get attacked.
Yeah, exactly, you would. And hey, that brings us to Bernie. because
Yeah.
I've seen it. The first shots have been fired. Bernie is posting things about Donald Trump now. Like he on one of his campaign videos I just seen the other day, he posted something saying and making a rebuttal to Trump. Saying about what is freedom, and essentially was like commenting on Donald Trump's comments on it. And I'm excited. I'm excited for this. But you know what? I said something to a friend of mine. I said I feel like Bernie is going to end up either falling. He's not going to get the Democratic nomination. He's going to become an independent, and then he's going to fade, not fade into obscurity because of the American people, because the American people will vote for him. I guarantee that they will, regardless of who the Democratic candidate is. Right? I think he's going to. They're going to basically cut him out. They're going to cut him out because he doesn't follow the interests of the Democratic or the Republican Party, because he's a little too radical. I think he is. Which I think, but I think you need that to push the envelope, because he's gonna say crazy shit. Because you were talking about how Bernie Sanders was pulling up on kids, asking them crazy questions, right? Like pulling up on them, and be like, oh, like asking 5-year-old kids, do you guys think you would ever do cocaine? And they're like, what's cocaine? They're 5 years old. And you need someone crazy like that, because the balance is the other people. Because he'll push on the government things, and he'll say, and you know what I mean? Eventually something's going to get good out of it. I said that's the scenario I think is going to happen. Or he's going to die.
You think Bernie's going to die?
I think he might die. Of old age? Maybe. Maybe I'm insinuating something else. But what I'm saying is, because I said that, and my friend of mine quickly said to me, I don't think that's going to happen, because he's part of this movement, and there's no way they would do that, because this movement is going to be here, because it's all these people believing that. I said, you know why? I said, because JFK was the same way. I said JFK was on the same movement. Almost. I mean, not quite, but pretty much the same. This movement that we're thinking of, that Bernie has in mind, has always existed in this capitalistic society of modern day America. It has this movement, this mindset from the younger generation. And the problem is capitalistic people in charge, the oligarchs that are scared of it, they don't want it.
Right, and they're just gonna like that. I think they had that conversation like just before we came on and started recording today. He announced that he put in the bill, and he's gonna fight this to end student debt.
Right.
Yeah. And the thing about Bernie, though, this is the thing I like about Bernie. I know for a fact he says, he flips it around. They're just calling him straight out socialist. That's going to be their narrative.
Yeah, right.
Call him Venezuela. They're going to do all that to him. That's going to be their fight. But if you really look in depth at this, he's been saying the same shit for 30 years. So that tells you that America's been in this bullshit for at least 30 years of him going back. Like, that was the point when we were talking about those videos, those funny videos. They were making the point of saying Bernie's been on point about everything he's been saying all these years, but it's not the time for it. I still think at this particular time, if he doesn't get the flat out Democrat, like he doesn't get that lead, if he goes into the independent, we're going to end up with Donald Trump in it again, because it's going to split the votes again. It's going to do the same thing it did to Hillary. He has to be that person. Like, if it's not his time, and he's getting into that point, like if he doesn't get it now, it's never going to happen because of age. He needs to say, I'm going to be in the background, and I'm going to select somebody that's doing it and coming up, and I'm going to say, it's your fight now. I will be here to advise you as I go and be the Yoda of the whole thing.
Yeah, well, the only problem is...
And I think down...
Good. Finish what you were going to say.
No, go ahead. I was done.
I would say Joe Biden, from what I see, a lot of the people are... For one, we learned some things from last year's election, though. Polling data doesn't mean a goddamn thing. It doesn't mean shit. Because Hillary was polling higher than Donald Trump, and they still lost. You know what I mean? Hillary still lost, even though she was taking a poll higher than Donald Trump. But also, Donald Trump polls were going lower than Hillary, and Donald Trump pulled through. So what we know now is that polling data doesn't work, and they're being skewed. They're being skewed to fit a narrative to help try and get someone elected. So what I'm saying now is, now you have this thing where all bets are off. Where, like, you can't listen to these political polls saying, like, oh, this guy's gonna win and that guy's gonna win. It really is who people vote for. And Bernie, I think if I if I ever had hope that there could be an independent president, Bernie Sanders is probably, out of all the presidents that have come past, the presidents and candidates, he's got to be the damn closest to being, an actual president in the independent category. Because the thing is, I have friends that are Democrats, like full blown Democrats, right? Because I'm more of a moderate. I would say you're probably more of a moderate, like myself, and Democrats don't like Joe Biden. Like, that's the guy who's supposedly leading the run, but a lot of them are just like, no, like, not Joe Biden, not Joe. We don't care about Joe. Like, because get Joe out of here. We don't want Joe. The memes were funny. The Barack Obama, the Joe Biden memes were funny. It's like, but we don't want Joe. Like, give us Bernie. Give us someone different.
You're gonna have to like, that's the thing though. Even though people, the average Joe, don't believe it on the street. That's why I don't believe in this, but I do it for the entertainment value, because I truly believe that they just do whatever they want. But to me, like, if we're looking at this like this is real, like this is how it really happens, and every vote is counted properly, it's fair, everything's fair. If you look at it in that sense, if the average Joe is saying we don't like Joe, but the power of it, you know what I mean? They start to lay down that power. It says, if you want this done, average Joe, you're going to have to vote for Joe. Or so the people, like you said, the voters say, you know what? Fuck that. Let's go with somebody else just to show them maybe somebody's going to have to make a sacrifice.
Right.
During these times, some people have to make a sacrifice. Like when you're coming up and your grandfather, your mother, or somebody made sacrifices to put you in a better situation so you could live the fruits of their sacrifice. That's what's going to happen at some point. Somebody's going to have to sacrifice. Some generation, not the whole generation, but during that electoral process is going to have to lose a lot, and it's going to affect them for years, that person, for the greater of the future.
Right, exactly. And do you put that on my generation? Who do you think the generation is going to be that has to pay for that?
I think you guys like the millennials, right? You're a millennial, right?
Yeah, I would be considered. I was born in the 1990s, so I think I'd be considered Gen Z. But
so you're real close to it, though, right?
Yeah, but I'm very close. Yeah.
So they're saying, like Bernie said, I was listening to him before we got on. He was talking about the debt thing. He said it's a crime that that the millennials are going to be growing up in so much debt, so school debt, not even be able to own their own homes, and tax debt, and they're making less than what the baby boomers did at that time. So
what you're saying is I can be broke, and everybody's going to be broke, so I can get all the ladies because everybody's broke. It doesn't even matter about the money.
No, it doesn't. You got to. You better build your personality up.
You said you better build your personality because
it's going to be. Or we were talking about filters. I was going to crack that in there. Like I said, okay, these chicks in filters, fake nails, weaves, everything, right? I should be able to use my prescription of penis enlargements, and I should be able to get that hair thing with no fight back.
Exactly.
So and doing that, and your personality, you know how they say that if you got a small penis, you got a big truck and a bigger bank account. If you don't, you got a personality. You got to have a great personality to get with the lady. So yeah, everybody's gonna be, and that's what he's projecting. And I believe this because I do believe in a lot of the things that Bernie is saying. I just think that they're not gonna allow it to happen. The powers that be are just not going to allow it to happen.
That's what I'm saying is I telling you that I think the people, because the people, I think the people are ready, especially for my generation, are ready for Bernie. And you want someone radical who's going to shake things up. I think you want that. And I think that's why the Democratic Party doesn't want to say Bernie's our guy, because he's controversial. You know what I'm saying? He's very controversial. And I think
controversial got this crazy motherfucker in the White House right now.
Yeah, but you know what else too? I think he also doesn't just he goes against the public interests, the public interests of not just the conservatives but also the Democrats. And that's why I think he really is an independent candidate. Because the guy he's going to he almost is. If the Democrats give him the thing, awesome, but I almost think he has to be because he doesn't he does not gel with both of them. I think he goes against the interests of both political groups. And do I feel like we are going to feel the burn? That's the question. Do you think that we are going to feel the burn in this coming election?
The burn.
The
Is he
burn.
going to be able? Do you think?
Is
I
it
don't
going to be?
know.
Is it going to be a burn, or is it going to be more of like a sizzle? I think we're going to feel the burn.
I think it's going to be politics as usual unless something dramatic happens. Unless they find Joe Biden with a secret freaking sex tape with some gold or some shit like that.
Oh, it'll come. It'll come.
I don't know. I think it's going to be politics as usual. They're going to play the game, throw money at it to get people to vote, do back alley deals to get shit done like they always do because they want things to happen the way that they want them to happen. Now, but in saying that though, but the change of Congress, what I think needs to happen is I wouldn't even be worried about the presidency. I would more focus like people on the lower level or what they can do is focus on the people that you're electing in your community that are going to go to Congress and try to get the best people that will not
that will speak on your behalf, basically.
Yes, and not fall for the bullshit and not get greased up by, you know what I mean?
From the politicians that have been in seats in the House for 60 years, and they don't, and that's the reason why they're there for 60 years is because they run unopposed, they get reelected, and you know what I mean. They're selling it out to public and interest of corporations. They're bought.
Corporation. They're getting the bag. They get their bag. Everything. They don't want the boat to rock. You know what I mean? So you get somebody like what's her name? Bernie's. What's her name? OC. Mm-hmm. AOC or whatever.
Cortez. Ocasio
yes.
Cortez.
That's a big feat that she was able to do what she did. That shows that, at least in the New York area, that's where their mindset is at for her to get there that fast and young. The way she came through and did all this shit.
I think it's a movement. Yeah. Get these newer age-minded people in politics and get these fucking old heads out of here, basically, because it's a new world, a new age that they didn't even grow up in. And before we wrap up, that's the one thing I was going to say is we're in a new world, a new age that those people from back then didn't grow up in. The age of technology, the age of innovation. I mean, like I said, we have literally seen the internet and all these crazy things like this show come out in the past 10 years. You know what I mean? Like literally 10 years ago, everyone had a fucking flip phone. You know what I mean? Or no, probably like 13 years ago. Everybody had a flip phone. Now we got a computer in the palm of our hand that we can touch shit on a screen. It's like out of Star Trek. Do you know what I mean? And those people, the people that are politicians right now in the House, they did not grow up in that world. And when you see conservatives ask like the CEO of Google and Zuck, Facebook, all these questions, they don't got a clue. They don't even know what to ask them because they don't even understand the concept.
They don't know how to work it. They're asking their grandkids that are probably like 5 years old, "Hey man, how do I post this pic on Instagram?"
Yeah, right, exactly. And they don't live in that world. And I think you need the younger generation to now step up and do it at an earlier rate, because if not, the interests of the oligarchs or the politicians that are above us is going to totally fuck my generation and the generation after that.
And I think, like we say, I mean, that should be in the title too, is if the shit show's beginning. Like there's going to be a lot of bull. The Democratic debates are starting this week. We're going to see a lot of shit throwing. We're going to see Trump over there doing his normal thing, but it's going to step up a notch. Expect to see our news feeds start going through bullshit.
And friends become enemies, and and that's what hey, I think that's what me and you signed on for, though, is to try and put these fucking fires out, man, and bridge the gap. That's what we signed up for this election. So
I think we're going to be able to. I think we're going to be able to get some people on that week that are going to be willing. Like we had somebody reach out to us that I think so that'll be coming up in the future. Hopefully that we could get somebody that. One of the reasons why we started this that has a totally different view than we do, and we're going to have the conversation and show that proof of concept that you don't have to be fucking whacked out of your mind when you're going through this thing. Yeah. But before we close, I wanted a couple more things I just wanted to touch on. Obviously, there's things that they're testing the water with, like in the election. They're seeing what's going on, like that immigration, like with the war with Iran, Trump pulled out. They're testing to see where America is at with this so they know what to run on. The immigration thing, they were talking about Sunday that they were going to just run huge raids and just start snatching illegals up and go busting down doors and doing all that. But a lot of police departments like Chicago and that said, we're not helping you with that. If you're going to do that, you're going to do that. You're going to do that on your own time and your own money because we have our own issues to worry about. We're not worried about that. So and then Trump pulls back and says, well, we're going to hold off on it and let it see where it's at, because they probably got from their base, because we know the polls that they're showing us don't work, but they have information that's helping them make decisions on what's the best thing to do. What's the best thing to attack?
That's what I meant by what I'm saying, the polling data, because they have information from us what we want, but they don't. But they're not providing the information that because we don't all, like I said, as a collective, as a group, we don't know all the information about each other and what everyone around us thinks. But we do at that level, but not the national level. But they have access to all that information. You're absolutely right. So, I think that, and I agree with you, is they're just testing the waters. They're trying to find the hot button. I think socialism is probably going to be the big one, and it's going to be that and
socialism,
healthcare.
Healthcare, reparations, because you're not going to be. We know you need the black vote. We know you're going to have to speak on this. Whether you come up, everybody's going to come up with some bullshit way of saying it and bullshit way, but they're going to have to talk about it. It's going to be at the top of those three things with it. It's going to be huge, trust me, because people in the black community, the black leaders are pushing them. They're asking them. So that's all you hear about when they do an interview. If it has anything to do with black media or anything like that, they know they have to come in there and start talking that question. So it's going to be a part of the debates. Mark my words on that. And just one more thing, though, before we get out of here, because this is just out of my mind, yo, like how this is not being pushed. Why is not I don't know if they're going to do it in the debates when it gets down the line and it gets closer to the actual election or whoever runs, or they might have the base of these people do it online. Why is this dude able to walk around with 21 people accusing him of rape? Somebody just came out, a New York author. She came out and said it like 20 years ago in a store that he sexually assaulted her. Came on one of the shows. I understand CNN, fake news. I understand all that stuff. But how is it not being like, if it was anybody else, why is that so powerful that people are just brushing this under the rug? Like, it's not being used, especially just to go along with the thing that he admitted. We had him on Voice with that, and when he was on that bus saying, grab her by the pussy, I just go up and kiss him and grab. That's sexual assault, and people are coming out saying that this is what he did to him.
Just think about this. We talked about what's that guy. It was like one of our first shows. It was our pilot. We talked about what's that guy's name who had the record label.
Oh, Russell Simmons.
Russell Simmons. And Russell Simmons had to step down from his own company from one rape accusation. You have 21.
He left the country, bro.
Yeah,
he went to a country you can't be expedited from.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. And now we got 21 accusations, and he's the president of your country. So,
and that's just my last tweet because I'm off of it. It's just the ignorance of people that they go to the, well, what about? You know that phase that's going to come up again.
I can't shrug my shoulders.
What about? Be like, dude, the person that's supposed to be the most highest person that should be living by example is being accused of something that we heard come out of his mouth, and then he admitted that it was him on that tape, and you still are going to defend that bullshit.
Yep. Well, it is what it is. Hey, we all, like we said, everybody's got their own vetted interests, I guess, and they're gonna do what they're gonna do. So, it is what it is. But hey, guys, I appreciate everybody stopping by. Y'all are gorgeous people, as always. Stay beautiful. Take care of yourselves. And we are out of here. Have a good night. Later.